It is 6 o'clock, and I call the July 25th City Commission meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Mayor Hattasol.
Here.
Commissioner Butler.
Here.
Commissioner Motta.
Here.
Commissioner Morse.
Present.
Got a quorum.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, our one item for this evening, or two items for this evening. The first one is Riley County Police Department update. Commissioners, would you like to allow for a public comment this evening?
Sure.
Someone want to make a motion to that extent?
Mayor, I move that we allow public comments this
Okay.
evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second to allow public comment, even though everybody here is already going to be commenting on it, most likely, but please call the roll.
I think there are a lot of
Commissioner
comments.
Butler.
Yes.
Commissioner Motta.
Yes.
Commissioner Morse.
Yes.
Mayor Hattasol.
Yep.
Motion passes.
All right, Riley County Police Department update. Director Pete, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I was going to make an issue because I'm getting older and I actually got prescribed glasses. So I was going to wear my glasses, but now I realize I am getting older because I forgot to bring them. So I apologize. Good evening, members of the City Commission, City Manager, members of the public. Brian Pete with the Riley County Police Department. Just going to give you a summary of events. Try to keep it extraordinarily brief. The recent statistics that we have in June. So they've showed us on the continual track of historical low numbers in crime within our communities. Part 1 crimes in June of 2023 of this year were 108, which is 2.5% below the 5-year average, compared to this same time last year, when we saw a 4.9 increase in Part 1 crimes. Both Part 1 violent crime and Part 1 property crimes were below the 5-year average, respectfully. And property crime, unfortunately, has been up 5.7% from the 5-year average. So that summary is for this month. 9 aggravated assaults or batteries, that's a 63 year to date. 2 rapes, 1 robbery, which is 6 of the year to date. 12 structural burglaries, 9 residential and 3 non-residential, all occurred in the city for a 69 year to date. 18 larcenies from a motor vehicle, 17 were no signs of forced entry. So I'd like to take this opportunity to let folks know, please lock your doors, roll up your windows, and if you have anything that's of value, if you have like that change drawer or like that change in your ashtray or something like that, cover it up and try to keep people honest. We shouldn't have to do that in this society, but unfortunately, you want to try to mitigate those risks. So for the 18 larcenies from a motor vehicle, that puts us at 150 year to date. 7 auto thefts, 5 of which have been recovered as of July 10th. That's 37 year to date. 59 larcenies, 37 year to date. 18 DUIs of last month, that's 1% above that 5-year average of ours. That's 596 year to date. And then 112 traffic accidents, 16.7% were, that's above the 5-year average. That puts us at 596 to date. And then 74 preventable traffic accidents, and preventable meaning that these were accidents that weren't caused related to weather or to animals. And that's about 5% above the 5-year average for 431 to date. Our budget was approved by the law board. That total budget is $26,937,092, which is a 7.52% increase over the 2023 budget. However, when adding the carryover of a little over $256,000, the realized budget is $26,680,459, which is an actual 6.5% increase over the previous year's budget. The total increase in budget is a little over $1.8 million. What we're going to do is apply the vast majority of that increase to personnel expenses, which is going to include another round of implementation for the salary survey, and as well as cost of living increases. About 58,000 are going to go to base adjustments, and that's where we're looking at right now and where we're prioritizing the budget for next year. We're currently reviewing existing contracts for additional budgeted savings, and we're also looking for ways, according to our plan, our multi-year plan, on how we can implement technology to augment our staffing levels. So how can we invest in technology to improve our capabilities and safety to the community? And then I will be presenting to the law board some of the contracts that we've looked at, and then and that we've no longer continued on with, and presenting that to the law board, our next law board meeting. Since we've last spoke, we have hosted our training on human trafficking, which was paid in full by a grant. Our staff, as well as local, state, and federal law enforcement attorneys and advocates, attended this training. We've applied for a grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the Smart Policing Initiative, which is about $800,000, and that consists of the ask is going to be getting technology so we can install and create a real-time crime information center. We haven't heard back from them. Hopefully we'll hear something in August. The Edward Byrne Grant for Justice Assistance, we're going to apply for that. That's roughly $24,000 that we can get. Federal Victims of Crime Act, VOCA grant, that's used to fund our victim advocate coordinator, Melissa Mosher, and then the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Grant, we've requested and asked for about $7,200 to help us augment the cost of getting vests for our department members. And then we're waiting for official approval from CRITAC, or the International Association of Chiefs of Police, for a roughly $50,000 grant to do officer survivability training for both corrections and sworn officers. Sergeant Jake Wilson, Jacob's first name, that's his nickname, I'm sorry. He was named the 2024 VFW LE Officer of the Year for this district. Corrections Officer Erica Hahn was awarded CIT's Correctional Officer of the Year Award. That's a national award. We are getting ready to bring back our fair and impartial policing working group with the community. RCPD welcomed Patrol K-9 Moses and our newest K-9 Handler Officer, Mark Radcliffe. And a little bit of information on Moses. He's a Malwa, and he's 3 years old. So we're extraordinarily happy. So now we have 2 K-9s back out there on patrol. We recently concluded the joint active shooter training with the city and the county first responders, something I hope and pray we never, ever have to put into use. And so right now, as I speak, we have representatives from RCPD who are in Baltimore for a meeting that's hosted by the Mental Health Services of SAMHSA, and this discusses behavioral health crisis system mapping, and the whole goal is a conversation of, it's a conversation of other communities and governments to look at what crisis continuum models should be, standardization, especially when looking at implementing 988. So this is a conversation of agencies nationwide. The Riley County Police Department was handpicked and asked to come down there and represent the state of Kansas and how we're doing it here, which I think is the best, of course, kind of like our football and basketball teams and everything else. I've been participating in the IACP working group to develop a national level sobering center implementation guide. This is another option that the communities, that we as a community can look at in bringing resources to folks, especially if, because, again, there are crises within all lockup facilities, if you will, and if someone doesn't need to be there, we're not looking at a sobering center, but this is different than that. So if we run into individuals who are suffering from addiction-related issues, this is an implementation guide that we can bring forth to the community, to our partners here in the city, and work on developing here to help keep the pressure off of our corrections folks. And then lastly, Lieutenant Mark French was selected for promotion to captain. He will lead the corrections division after the retirement of Captain Derek Woods. This was a very, very difficult selection process. We've implemented a new rubric process to gauge folks and to provide good feedback. So we're really excited. Again, our lieutenants are top-notch. These are some of the best officers I have ever served with in my career. And again, this was a very hard decision. But as you all know, we have had our challenges within corrections. We've put a lot of resources, effort into helping our corrections folks work through. I think that our folks downstairs are very optimistic, happy, and excited for the changes that will be coming. And I anticipate within the next few months, we're going to be we'll be back up to par. I think we had over or close to 60 folks who had applied for the corrections position. We've tried some new different things and trying to get folks in last year, I think, or last go around a few months ago, I think we only had 9. But we were up to almost 60 folks. Of those 60 folks, we've had, I think, an interview of 14 individuals. And I think we're looking at 11 right now. And we're at a shortage of roughly 13 to 14 people. So we're on the upswing, and I'm very confident that we'll be up and running back to a very good place here very shortly. With that being said, I'm sorry to have spewed off so much diarrhea of the mouth, and I stand ready for any questions that the commission may have had.
So how many police officers are you short at this moment?
I think we're maybe 1 or 2
Not-
at this
not
particular
many.
point in time. So our staffing levels are pretty good. Again, this is anyone who's out there in TV land watching, if you want to go into policing, you want to come into Riley County. We have the biggest thing within law enforcement right now. When we say the grass is green on the other side, money's there. Everybody's trying to outbid each other. But the biggest 2 things folks are looking for are how well the department's going, what that internal morale is, and we have very strong morale. But I think the biggest kicker is what type of support and the perception officers feel they're getting from the community they serve. And without a doubt, this is one of the strongest places in the country of officers who hold themselves accountable to each other, but a community that really stands by and supports them. So I think that's a good part to why we're able to retain such tremendous officers in the department.
How's your dispatcher situation? Still got plenty of them, or are you still short there?
We're short, maybe, I believe, again, 1 or 2 in that realm, but we still have a steady stream of folks who show interest. Unlike in corrections, it was getting a little dicey, but historically, we do have good numbers that come in, and that we're able to select good folks from there.
Very good. Anybody else got anything? Linda?
Our community, I know that the city will soon be deciding how to spend some opioid money. Ron said the other day, $200,000. The county has some also. Are you part of the effort about like an opioid task force or an opioid, some way of developing an approach to how to cope with that issue here in the community?
Yes, the city has been pulling us into a lot of the conversations and
Okay.
keeping us abreast of what they're working on. So we've got great partnership there, and
Good.
It's a very good mutual, strong relationship.
Be good to have a whole community approach. I'm glad. Okay, thanks.
No questions, just thanks for the update, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you being here. Yep.
Thank you all very much.
Any public comment on the RCPD presentation? Okay, very good, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the second item, which is the second quarter, mid-year CVB and economic development updates and budget proposals from the Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Smith, President and CEO of the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce. Again, thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening to give our mid-year economic development report, our second quarter Visit Manhattan report. We always enjoy doing this and appreciate the opportunity to not only let you all know what we're doing, but let the public know what we're doing and all the successes we've had. A couple of things that I want to mention. First of all, this will be the first time you officially are hearing from two of our newest staff people, or at least people in new positions. Marcia Roselle, who last time gave the report as a fill-in for Karen, is now the Executive Director of Visit Manhattan, and we're thrilled that Marcia accepted our offer to take that position, and we think she is going to do a great job. And so she'll be here tonight for the first time in that official capacity, and we're glad for that. Christian Bishop is our new Military Relations Manager, and this will be her first presentation giving the update for military relations. And so we are thrilled that Christian joined our team, and she'd been at Fort Riley for 15 years, and I think you all will appreciate her as much as we do. We also are making our annual budget request on the economic development side. It'll be flat. On the Visit Manhattan side, we normally have the 60%, and so we worked with the city staff on what the estimated 60%, estimated TGT collections would be, and I've asked for 60% of that. And again, that's just an attempt to rebuild where we were a couple of years ago when we had to cut that budget by 50%, and we're just now getting close to where we can be back at full capacity, and so we're excited about that as well. I always want to take this opportunity to commend the city staff. They, and all the experiences I've had in my nearly 30 years of economic development, this is by far the best staff I've worked with and at a city, and I don't want to ever let the opportunity go without being able to say that. And then the last thing, I'll be available for questions during or after the presentations, so feel free to call me up if you need me. So with that, I'm going to introduce Darren, who is our Director of our Director of Economic Development. And I don't know if you saw, we also recently promoted him. He's now the Executive Vice President of the Chamber and took Karen's role there. And so we're thrilled that he did that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Darren.
Thank you, Jason. Good evening, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to join you this evening and speak on behalf of our economic development efforts, give an activity update on some things that we're working on. I just want to echo Jason's comments about the team that we have here, both staff at the city, which we have the opportunity to work with frequently. Also want to recognize a couple of our economic development staff members that are joining us tonight. George Kant, our existing business retention and expansion manager, and Amber Hutfliss, our talent strategies coordinator, both here. So they do great work, and some of the things I get to report on this evening are obviously due to their hard work. And so I want to recognize the work that they're doing within the chamber and for the community. So I'm going to run through some slides here, which I should probably pull up on the screen. So I'm going to run through some slides. In the middle of this, we're going to have a representative from K-State Innovation Partners as well as Spark and Black Entrepreneurs get up, as we've done typically in our biannual reports to you, and have them talk a little bit about some of their activities that we're supporting through our Chamber economic development efforts. But just a reminder, job creation, innovation, entrepreneurship, and talent retention and attraction are the key strategies that we focus our community economic development efforts around. Some of these efforts were recognized this past year by Site Selection Magazine. Manhattan and this metro was recognized as number 3 in projects per capita by Site Selection Magazine. So that's a pretty significant achievement, and one that this community has not previously had. So it was great to get that recognition. But like most recognition, that comes due to a lot of hard work. These are the efforts of Greater Manhattan Economic Partnership, knowledge-based or KBED partnership, the things that we do working with the city, all the efforts that facilitate the projects that we've seen over the last few years that ultimately lead to this ranking. So as we look to the future and kind of here's some of those efforts behind business attraction and business recruitment. So talk a little bit about our prospect pipeline. Right now, these are kind of key industries, key areas: manufacturing, bio and ag tech, which includes biomanufacturing, includes high-tech manufacturing, especially in the ag sector. We've got several strong prospects in that area. And of course, animal health and biosecurity falls in there as well. So these are areas that not only do we target through the Greater Manhattan Economic Partnership, but areas that we've seen increases in numbers of our prospects. What do those recruitment efforts look like? This is something I haven't necessarily hit on in much detail in some past reports, but just want to highlight the marketing that goes on through the Greater Manhattan Economic Partnerships. Again, that's the overarching brand that we represent globally for the Manhattan, Kansas region. Kansas Department of Commerce and Team Kansas are incredible partners. Those efforts to the state are what drive a number of prospects and ultimately projects into our, not just the state, but into our region. The partnership with various different entities representing the university, including Kansas State Innovation Partners, Kansas State University Foundation, and the university proper, as well as the City of Manhattan and Regional Economic Development Partners, through KBED. Site Selectors Guild is the primary and largest professional group of site selectors in the world. We're very active with that group, attend multiple events a year, engage with them frequently, and that allows us to not only have some insight into trends, but also those relationships so that we can go out, and we're doing some of this later this summer and fall, but visit with site selectors, so we're going to see them. Taking the Manhattan story, taking some of the good news about projects, about the NBAF groundbreaking, about opportunities that exist here out to site selectors. And then groups like the Kansas City Area Development Council, Animal Health Corridor, which is part of that group, obviously play key roles in promoting not just Manhattan and K-State, but this broader region nationally and globally. Also want to highlight, and we were just here a month ago or so talking about the spec building program. I just got to see some renderings and marketing material for this here earlier this week, but really excited about that project going on over behind the former McCall building. Again, just a reminder, about 112,000 square feet of warehouse/spec industrial space that was facilitated through the spec industrial program that the City Commission passed here a couple years ago, and then approved the application that came in earlier this summer. That's the kind of development that we need to see, and the kind of development I think will ultimately lead to additional jobs in the area. Business retention expansion, obviously very important to not just our economic development strategy, but to any job strategy in a community. Some of the current activity going on, George continues doing great work, visiting with local companies, engaging with financial institutions. We're also doing some company headquarter visits, so I've had the opportunity to do some of that here locally as executives or leadership have come to the area. We're going to be doing some outreach here over the next couple months and going and visiting some of the headquarters of some of our major employers, and that's an effort that got a little bit slowed down by COVID, but really exciting to pick that back up, remind those folks that we're excited about them being in the community, the positive impact they have here, but also remind them that as they look to grow and they're making strategic decisions within their companies, that Manhattan, Kansas is a great place to do that growth, and that we're here to help them recruit talent, we're here to help them facilitate growth, and it can be their partners. Another great way to kind of keep an ear down to the ground on local industry and local business are these industry roundtables in a number of different sectors that we host. The Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee that George Staffs has continued to do good work, including some upcoming education and programs that group is going to be putting on. Working with the Chamber. The Established Business Leaders Group, I know some of you have attended a few of those events. I just want to highlight the fact that group has launched, in partnership with Hype and Spark, a mentorship program. So we've got experienced established business leaders in the community engaging not just with our young professionals, but also with young entrepreneurs and business owners. This is the kind of engagement and the kind of relationship building that will pay significant dividends down the road as we try to advance entrepreneurship and as we build the next generation of leaders in our community. And really want to commend the leaders of that established business group for having the foresight and putting forth the effort to help establish that mentorship program. And then a big one that's been in the news recently, childcare capacity. Obviously, the almost $2.5 million of grants through the Children's Cabinet that was recently announced is significant. There are additional grants out there that have been applied for that we hope to get news on soon. But ultimately, this accelerator concept, why this is so important is this has the ability to create space that can launch new businesses, and specifically new businesses in childcare. And so as we build capacity, this isn't just about investing in one facility or one or two providers. This is about building helping additional providers with business assistance, with startup, with professional development going forward, and being able to do that continuously over a long period of time. And we think that's got great potential to increase childcare capacity and help address that issue within our community. Just a couple numbers on these next few slides. Want to highlight year-over-year growth. These are numbers when we've talked about in the past, past several years especially, haven't been necessarily positive. They are now when you look at May over May. And again, there's a couple month lag in these labor data from the state. But when you look at May over May, Manhattan actually, compared to these other communities, has seen pretty strong percentage growth, in line with what we're seeing in Stillwater, Oklahoma, a little bit ahead of Ames, Iowa. Would be led to believe that a lot of this is probably due to the fact that we've got more university students back in person and engaged in the local labor force, and that has not necessarily necessarily been the case the last several years, but I'd like to see these year-over-year numbers continue. The month-over-month numbers are driven so much here by seasonality. So, we just look at April to May and some decrease. That's pretty typical. We tend to follow the same trends. But the other number I'd like to highlight is just the fact that it took us about 3 years, but as of earlier this year, for the first time since pre-COVID, so February 2020, we are back to total civilian labor force numbers within the region at that just under 49,000 level. So it took about 3 years for that number to recover to its pre-COVID level. Highlight a couple projects here, just to touch on Scorpius. The company continues to work there on the design and ultimately financing that project. Obviously, as soon as we have information to share, we'll be back in front of you to share that and obviously engage their development partners in the processes that need to happen with the city to push that project forward. Bev Hub, I think, is a great example of a project where having building space or land available for development is so important. They're part of an economic development incentive package we brought before all of you back in fall of 2020. They went into that facility, the former Tallgrass facility, former call center facility out there by the airport and the industrial part and the business park. Were able to get their operations up and going, made an investment in some additional space for warehousing, shipping, receiving there, put all their equipment in, have grown and have now actually gone and are leasing the entire former McCall building over on the east side of town. And so you've probably seen their sign up on that building, but they have lease control over that entire building and are obviously able to increase their operations here and employ additional people, both in their facility out west, but also in that warehouse facility because of the efforts that were made here back in 2020. Cimarron Trailers, while not located in the city, this is over in the Green Valley Business Park. Obviously, employ a lot of folks within the region. Chickasha, Oklahoma-based company. Just were able to cut the ribbon on their facility here a few months ago, and then just earlier this month, cut the ribbon on the Prime Company over on the west side. That was another economic development project. We came before the commission with some jobs funds. That's a headquarters expansion project. So a lot of folks being hired out of K-State. In fact, the large majority of their labor force there are K-State grads, and we look forward to them continuing to grow in Manhattan while they do work around the country. Radiation detection technologies, K-State started out of Smart Lab, have on-campus facilities, also facilities over east of town in Potawatomi County. They were recipients of the first round of BASE grants from the State Department of Commerce and are actively installing additional new equipment, clean rooms, and upping production capacity because of that effort. And we've worked closely with them on a number of state-related issues as well as on some local workforce and labor-related issues. And then finally, just also a few months back, the K-State Foundation and the 1960 Kimball project. You drive by, you see all the steel that's coming out of the ground there, additional office space, and a project that the city played a role in through a property tax abatement and a sales tax exemption. Wouldn't be proper to get up here without highlighting the NBAF ribbon cutting. Long time coming, but want to thank the community for all the work that they did. I think as a community we presented really well at this event. Thank the mayor for his words and participation. Looking quite calm, cool, collected there in a suit under the hot sun for hours outside that day. I think it was the warmest day we had in May, but what a great event for our community. Chamber was proud, along with Kansas State University, to host an event in conjunction with Senator Moran up at the football stadium the evening before and showcase the community to a number of key partners and VIPs. And we're really excited about some of the opportunities for talent recruitment to the area with the current efforts going on in NBAF, as well as, and Stephanie will talk a little bit about this, some of the things that we're starting to work with NBAF on related to company attraction and the ability to leverage the fact that they are now, the news around the ribbon cutting, the fact that they're going to have the BDM as part of their facility, the ability to work across the fence with the private sector and with private industry. And so we're exploring what some of that looks like and really excited about that future. So on that note, it is my pleasure to introduce Stephanie Pierce, who's the Economic Development and Entrepreneurship Relations Manager for K-State Innovation Partners. And Stephanie is going to come up and talk a little bit more about some of the key things that we are doing in innovation.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. It's my pleasure to be with you this evening on a hot, warm evening, but to update you a little bit on some of the activities that are happening in that innovation strategy and how that feeds into economic development overall. This past May, it was announced that K-State was awarded an NSF Engines Development Award entitled Advancing Biosecurity, Biodefense, and Biomanufacturing Technologies. This is really a collaboration between lead organizations of the university, K-State Innovation Partners, Manhattan Area Technical College, Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce, and BioKansas. This project is a 2-year planning grant to build the innovation ecosystem by expanding existing activities in the broad domain of biosecurity, biodefense, and biomanufacturing in the region that you see on the slide that covers Northeast Kansas and Northwest Missouri. One of the goals is to promote economic development by making our region a hub of research, education, and manufacturing. The activities will really focus on increasing connection between research and private sector partners, as well as facilitating connectivity for startups and small businesses that need resources and programs, including funding and technical assistance. In addition to this, there is the development of a biomanufacturing training and education center to meet the needs of current and expected new biotech industries locating in Kansas, including workforce. The university received $5 million of state funding to renovate and program existing lab space on campus to accomplish this. Along with the biodevelopment engine, this pathway is being created in collaboration with MATC with the goal to open in fall of 2024. Some other catalyst activities that are spurring innovation, as Darren mentioned, is the biologics development modules. There's one of these that is located within NBAF, but also within the Biosecurity Research Institute. Their focus is scaling up new innovations that allow a pathway for industry to engage in research in each of these facilities. Second, Big Idea Ventures, a capital firm, recently received designation from USDA to open the Generation Food Rural Partners Fund. They're partnering with universities like K-State to explore their available technologies to form platform startups. They do this by looking at complementary technologies across multiple universities to create a startup, fund that startup, and wrap talent around that. The stipulation that comes along with this funding is that the startup must be located in a rural community, therefore creating economic development in rural U.S. They're currently looking at K-State's technology portfolio and the opportunities to collaborate to create new companies in our region. And finally, the Association of Public Land Grant Universities named K-State as one of 5 finalists for its 11th annual Innovation and Economic Prosperity University Awards. This award recognizes exemplary and innovative case studies of economic engagement impact. Our proposal was focused on the place category, which recognizes exemplary initiatives resulting in social, cultural, or community development. The proposal highlighted the strong university-community relationship, place-based initiatives through our collaborative efforts in the EDGE Collaboration District, our leadership as a hub for biosecurity and biodefense in the animal health corridor, and our innovative solutions addressing housing needs with architecture, planning, design, and habitat for humanity. Of course, going along with innovation is entrepreneurship, and now informing you of some of the activities that are happening in entrepreneurship, Sarah Siders with Spark.
Thank you, and thanks for being patient with me on my long walk there. Mayor, Commissioners, good to be with you this evening. So we're giving our mid-year update here on what Spark's been up to over the last 6 months, and I'm very pleased to be able to share this with you. As you know, Spark has been tasked with developing entrepreneurs through training and education, been tasked with connection for entrepreneurs to be connected to resources, to each other, to community, and also to communicate the stories of entrepreneurs and the people who support them throughout the area. And this month, actually, July, is our 3-year anniversary. And so we've been doing this consistently for 3 years. And so I want to talk a little bit about one of our primary categories here, the development category. So Every spring and fall, we offer our core business education class. And this was our 5th cohort. It graduated in April. And we get 14 entrepreneurs graduate from this class. And as you can see from that really, really great group, 100% of those groups, of everyone who was in this group, actually, was a woman, minority, or veteran-owned business owner, which was amazing. And it was so cool to see these entrepreneurs come together and support each other. They're still actively working together through peer groups, through mentor matching, and referring each other for business, and it was just really dynamic. So it's been really neat to see that continue, that kind of support continue. I will also would like to mention that 82% of our graduates are currently operating, and the remaining percentage plan to open within the next year. So everyone is on track to open, and even 27% of those graduates are already expanding their footprint. So it was really an impactful class, and we're excited. We already have close to 10 on our wait list for the fall class, and so we're excited to be offering that to the community. Another thing that we do here, as I mentioned, is connecting entrepreneurs to resources and to each other. And we do that through community building. So we have our Women in Entrepreneurship program. We've had over 100 women attend events, monthly events, so far this year, and we have over 400 in the online Facebook group. Our Veteran Entrepreneur Meetup was something that has really taken off organically. We started it last fall, and I didn't know that it was going to be a monthly meetup when I was presenting on it 6 months ago. But the community's really rallied around it. There's nearly 100 on the mailing list, and 80 people have attended meetups so far this year. We actually alternate between Junction City and Manhattan so that we can really engage the entire group, and it's been really dynamic and neat to see. And also in April, we hosted an arts and entrepreneurship event. And the reason that we did this was because a community that embraces the arts also embraces entrepreneurship. If you think about just going across the country, a city that has a lot of murals or has a really vibrant arts community is also going to be very strong in entrepreneurship. And so we said, what if we were a community that really supported artists as business owners, artists as entrepreneurs, and what if we got behind them to help them build a business or brand around their work? And so that's what the goal was of this event, and we didn't know what the outcome would be, but the outcome is that there are future events that are being planned, and we have some organizations in the community that really want to take a lead on this, which is exciting. And we have over 220 people in an Arts MHK group that houses artists, creatives, and artist supporters online. And so the community building side has really been dynamic, especially over the last 6 months. So we've hosted 20 events so far this year, and we've had over 425 people attend those events. Stories and news, again, telling the stories of entrepreneurs and the people who support them. We are able to promote that individual entrepreneur. They share that organically with their network, but every single time we tell a story of an entrepreneur, we're telling the story of what it's like to start a business here in the Manhattan community. So we've shared 38 entrepreneur stories on social media, our newsletter, and our website. And through that, we've reached over 100,000 people on social media this year with 10,000 visits to our website. So just an example of how this works, that the Entrepreneur Network at Work. This is Natalie Bartlett. She moved back to the area after being away for over a decade. And she came back, and she is an entrepreneur, and she was wanting to get her business started. So we met in one of our individual consultations, which is called an entrepreneur navigation session. And we got her plugged in to a number of different programs with the Women in Entrepreneurship community. She attended Flint Hills Business Launch. She actually won the pitch competition at the end. She's connected with the Arts MHK community because she wants to be able to integrate artists and creatives into her business. And she's also working with a peer group that follows up from the business launch class and is experiencing mentorship through the Manhattan Professional Mentor Program. So she, in the last 6 months, I met with her in January. And I feel like I've known her forever. I saw her today. We're working on the Women in Entrepreneurship Retreat. She is so integrated. And so this is an example of what can happen when somebody can connect with one of our amazing partners in the region. They can really dive in and get deeply connected and supported in the launch of their business. So I want to share here, I'll transition to the Black entrepreneurs and their update here in just a moment. But we have a number of funding sources that we are bringing online here. And I'm sharing this slide here because this just shows you how much partnership is going into all of the funding opportunities that our community is bringing online. And so I want to say thank you to you all, to our city staff, and to the city commissioner specifically for supporting this fund. We have been talking about capital access for a long time, and the reason that we're doing that is because 89% of small business owners are saying access to capital is an issue. And that number, of course, increases when we get into areas of underestimated business owners. And so this is so important that we get behind these entrepreneurs by getting funding into their pockets in a way that is accessible to them. And so starting this fall, Spark will be contracting with the Chamber to take lead on providing the administrative services of this fund. And we are working with all of these partners from the region and across the state to bring this proven model online. And we're planning to launch it here in October. So this has been a process. We started off very slowly, I would say, and you can see the momentum that's building here. If you start on the left, the e-community loan from Network Kansas was brought online in 2016, and that was 7 years ago. And then you're going to see a big gap there. But you also might remember how many times members of our economic development community were saying access to capital, access to capital. We've been talking about this for a long time, and we've really needed a proven model to bring to our community to say, hey, this works. We know this works. It's working in other communities. And we now have that, which is really exciting. Last year, we were able to bring the Network Kansas program, Grow Kansas loans, here for businesses that are expanding, which is amazing. There is another level of funding that we're able to bring that is for the growth stage companies. And so up to $200,000 there available through Network Kansas. And so this year, we are excited to be able to use to offer the Elevate Fund loan, which will be up to $15,000 with a 50% match. And in partnership with Network Kansas, they have an allocation for us, and they're going to allow us to launch the Empower Fund loan, which will be up to $15,000 for minority-owned businesses. And so what we're going to be doing even into the future here, bringing CDFI loans online as an additional funding capacity. But this is really exciting because what we're trying to do is integrate all of these loan products together into a system that allows an entrepreneur to engage with our partners and fill out a loan application process and receive the loan products that they need, that's customized for them. And not just a loan, but we are also working together on the logo soup that you saw here before. All of these partners are working together to align and integrate programming to support those entrepreneurs, because this benefits everyone. That entrepreneur has wraparound support from all of these partners: education, community, camaraderie, every single aspect of their business that they need supported, not just capital, right? Because we don't want to just educate someone or just give them capital. We want to do it all. And our community is committing to doing all of that, which is amazing. So we are working together to align all these programs and for everybody to play their specific role, right? What the Black entrepreneurs do, what SBDC does, what the chambers do, Innovation Partners and Spark, all of us are working together to play our specific role and to be able to support those entrepreneurs, because we want to see them succeed individually, but we also want to protect our investment, right? As a community. And so it's both of those things. And when we do that, when we support them by integrating the programming into the loan application process, it's really getting behind those loan recipients that we're going to see a lot of success. So I want to hand it over to Sheila Ellis Glasper. She's going to provide an update on the Black entrepreneurs and their organizational activity for you. I don't know exactly where that, is it here? Okay, I apologize. I had a different deck.
Thank you.
I think the slides should be good to go.
That's where I went and got him. She told me she pulled it in before.
Okay.
She's still here.
You might check it. Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
give you a copy.
I'll cover some stuff and we'll
Okay,
come back to
totally.
it. Okay. Apologize, we got the wrong version of the slides up here. We will get those, those updated. I'm going to jump forward here and talk a little bit about some of our talent attraction and retention efforts. Obviously, as we try to build out additional jobs, especially primary jobs in the community, attracting and retaining talent, especially retaining talent that's already here, graduating from Kansas State University, or that is transitioning from Fort Riley, whether it's active duty or family members, is vitally important. And so a couple of things that we're doing recently since we last came here. One is developing some video content. Video content can be used across a lot of different platforms, and we feel it's something that connects well with a lot of the audiences we have. So I'm going to show one of the videos that we've developed as part of the Made for Manhattan campaign. There's also an effort that was underway to coordinate with K-State, and so they developed a student recruitment video that uses the same Made for Manhattan branding, the same look and feel of the video. And I think that's a great opportunity that, you know, we're presenting this unified front, unified brand out there to not just Kansas, but to the country and to the world. So this is about a 2-minute video that we're utilizing to showcase Manhattan as a great place to move and build a career and build a family.
So you're thinking about moving to Manhattan. Whether you've been here before or not, we're here to tell you what life is really like.
I have not been bored yet. I've been here going on 2 years and I'm constantly finding new things to do, new places to explore.
Manhattan continues to bring more and more into this town, whether you're an adventure seeker or you like the outdoors, or you like family-focused things, or you like the ball games. There's so much to do here, and really you don't have to go that far to find it.
We've both found it's easy to be as busy as you want to be and as involved as you want to be in Manhattan.
I've lived all over the country. I've lived in the Northeast, I've lived in New England, I've lived on the Gulf Coast. One thing that really stands out here is the people, how friendly they are, and how willing they are to help.
Within days of being in Manhattan, you'll learn that everyone has a different reason for living here. Some wanted the amenities of a bigger city. Others wanted the comforts of a smaller town. Some considered leaving, but chose to stay. Others left, but couldn't wait to get back. No matter what brings you here, Manhattan is what you make of it.
I knew I was made for Manhattan when I stopped worrying about wanting to be somewhere else.
To me, it's peaceful. I have no worries while I'm here.
I met my wife here while we were going to college, and now we both live here with our 2 dogs.
I do want to stay here long term. I really enjoy my work, and I really enjoy the community and the friends we made here.
For me, it was when I retired from the Army and the dust settled and I knew that I was in a good place with nice people, and it's a lot of fun, and I can't imagine living anywhere else.
We're part of a community of artists and activists,
Well. The next word was entrepreneurs.
Bandwidth.
So there is a grand finale on that video. I would encourage you to check out some of our Made for Manhattan materials, some of which are in front of you in a folder. I wanted to provide you some of this just to give you a sense of, so we're out at a lot of, when you look at these outreach efforts that are up on the slide, whether it's career fairs, veteran fairs, engaging in conferences. You know, we've got a BioKansas Innovation Festival in Kansas City next week that we're part of. They bring in graduate students in the biosciences from around the country to that event to promote this area, this region that we're part of. And we're obviously going to be there promoting Manhattan area, promoting job opportunities here, sharing content with them. So you've got examples of some of that content in the folder that was handed out, and would encourage you to take a look at that. Obviously, we're always willing to partner with businesses. As you talk to folks around the community that are hiring, we're more than happy to sit down with them, talk about some of those programs. We've also launched a dual career support program this summer, which I think has the potential to be very impactful. This is something the university is starting to utilize a little bit, just a few weeks out. But basically, if you're if you're a company looking to hire in the Manhattan area, or you're an individual looking at a job in the Manhattan area and you have a spouse or partner or a family member that needs a job, there is now a portal that you can be provided with a link. You can fill out an online form with your information, resume, what kind of job you're looking for. That information then is getting sent out to a network of human resource professionals within the region who are giving that a priority review as part of that program. And so that ability to help with that process, we do that already, but it's one-offs, it's one by one, providing a formalized process there with regular communication with HR professionals and getting those opportunities out into the community in a timely manner, I think has the potential to be very, very impactful. Finally, on the talent front, just want to highlight the fact that there's a lot going on at MATC. You've obviously heard from them specific to their building project. I think that's got great potential. Some of the new programs there, the increased capacity, those are supporting key areas that our community and our region need. I want to highlight, though, the fact that they're really doing a great job to promote and elevate technical education within our region and within our labor force. And the Chamber was proud last year to be a key partner and sponsor of their National Signing Day event. If this is something you haven't had the chance to attend in the spring, what a great event at MATC. Fill up a huge room full of folks that are basically inking the paper to say, hey, I'm going to go pursue a technical degree. Or a technical certification or certificate program. That's something we should support as a community, and something that, again, the Chamber is really proud to play a role in this last year, and we only anticipate that program will grow larger going forward. So speaking of going forward, a couple areas focus and want to highlight these. I'm sure there'll be issues that we're obviously already engaged with all of you as commissioners, but also with city staff and other partners, but things that we anticipate will be back in front of you again in the future. One, land for development. We've mentioned this before, but facilities and infrastructure really drive and support job creation. The example of BevHub is a perfect one where you've got an available building, they go there, they grow in that space, they need to expand, they go find something else within the community, continue to make investment and add jobs. Right now, the dynamic out there is that these are a lot of 50-plus acre sites. Timelines are important, being shovel ready are important, and so having infrastructure to the site, we have done well cobbling together some sites for some projects, and that speaks to the partnerships involved in our economic development effort, but that's not always best practice when it comes to economic development, and we do risk and do miss out on opportunity because of that. And then housing. I mean, we hear from employers all the time, definitely the number one issue for employers when they're looking at recruiting from outside the area, but it also plays a key retention component, and appreciate the efforts that have been made by the city, both studying housing, establishing workforce housing working group. We're engaged in that. But addressing housing, adding capacity in housing across a wide spectrum of areas, and supporting our workforce with workforce housing is something that's going to be vital to the success of some of these other programs we talked about. So, looking at our budget request, this budget request stays flat as compared to last year. We break this down into these categories, but I just want to highlight that overall number for economic development and military relations of $543,080 is the same as the request was last year. It is also matched at a greater than 1-to-1 rate by private contributions. So those are companies, individuals, and organizations across the region who invest in economic development through the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce as part of the Advantage Manhattan program. And so that public city investment is matched well over 1-to-1 by private dollars, and that's one of the things that really allows our economic development program to have the successes it has and to be able to do the scope of work that we do. So with that, we're going to kick it back over to, we'll get the slides up, and Sheila's going to talk about some of the efforts of the Black entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills, and then I will be back up, and our team will be happy to stand for questions on the economic development portion of the presentation after that. So, Sheila.
Well, good evening. Thanks for having us and inviting us, Darren. And good evening, commissioners and mayor, and all my colleagues in the room. We are here to give a mid-year report on the work Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills has been doing here in the Flint Hills region and beyond. And so our 5-point plan for plan of action for progress is something that guides anything and everything we do in the organization when it comes to engagement like tonight with city, with our county, with our state, with our members, with our support partners. Everything that's in this plan is really how we started as an organization, and I'm really proud that we are checking off many of these action plans here with the help of our partners. And so we had our Black and Bankable event last October. At the time, Commissioner Morse gave an address, and we had over 50 Black entrepreneurs from across the state participate in a one-day business intensive training. During this training, we were able to bring in local Black-owned businesses as well as businesses across from the state. We had representation from the governor's office, reaching all the way from Kansas City to Wichita and back to the Flint Hills area. It was so successful that we were able to actually gain funding to have it again this year, and we, through our work with the National League of Cities in their Inclusive Entrepreneurship Program, we are going to be able to bring it back to Kansas again this year, September 1st, and it's going to be hosted this year on the KU campus and with their innovation partners there. The purpose of hosting it in Lawrence this year is to be able to have a regional reach for our entrepreneurs. We are going to be engaging with banking partners and financial institutions that serve both our Flint Hills region as well as the Kansas City and Lawrence area. Bringing it to this area also helps us with just accessibility, helping our entrepreneurs to also network outside of our local area to help them continue to build their businesses and to continue to make our impact within our organization across the state. This year, we are going to be able to offer technical assistance packages to our participants in this event. And what I mean by that is the business intensive training is going to go over specifically credit, what you need to know about your credit, what you need to know to become bankable, meaning what banks look at, what investors look at. There's going to be dialogue and conversation around that. There's going to be training around pitches, what business needs to have in their pitch, et cetera. And so all the things when it comes to accessing capital, and as Sarah mentioned, access to capital, all have heard now for the past few years in this entrepreneur ecosystem and community, and this event is really to target and have a specific day where that is all we talk about, those relationships are built. Last year we had 50 participants with 20 one-to-one coaching sessions that our members were able to get information and resources to connect their businesses in several different areas: HR development, cash flow management, general business consulting, as well as product development. A new program that we're launching this year is called Commerce Uplift. As some of you may have heard or know, we've been promoting our members who have their products in Hy-Vee grocery stores. This is a really important partnership and a really important program because when an entrepreneur is able to go from B2C, business to consumer, to B2B, they're able to truly scale. They're not just doing one sale one by one, they're able to make a bulk sale to a retailer like Hy-Vee. And we're proud to have partnered with Hy-Vee to where we now have 7 of our members that are locally owned, Black-owned businesses that now you can find their products on the shelves at Hy-Vee grocery stores. We have been able to coach our members and help them understand the process of what it takes to scale from B2C to B2B. And now that we've been able to successfully get 7 of our members on the shelves, we're working with more retailers and more of our members, and we're actually even having Black entrepreneurs from across the state reach out to us about this program before we've even made an official launch. So that's really exciting news. The Black Joy program, it is a program that we developed out this year through the help of the Kansas Health Foundation. We are working to break the stigma when it comes to mental health in the Black community specifically. That's really relevant because this month is actually BIPOC Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we have partnered with our area Black entrepreneurs that are actually therapists. We have 9 Black therapists in our organization, and they're working with us to help our members overcome any type of mental health challenges that they may have, because we know that entrepreneurs' mindset is really the #1 challenge. A lot of times with our Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of color, it's getting over the mindset, overcoming trauma, so that they can be successful as business owners. So we're looking at the entrepreneur as a whole person. And this program is helping us to have events, as well as what will be like an employee assistance program, where our members will have their first 3 therapy sessions covered through this grant with the Kansas Health Foundation. So we are very excited about that program. Next, we were able to host the Empower Pitch competition. Through advocacy work and working with Network Kansas, we were able to bring this to the Flint Hills area. Last year, this was, the Flint Hills was not included. It was Topeka, Lawrence, it was Topeka, Kansas City, and I believe Lawrence that had the pitch competitions. But this year, we were able to bring it to the Flint Hills, and we're really proud of that. You can see that 3 of our members, they received $5,000 each, so it was $15,000 in total from this pitch competition. So we're really excited about this. We're really proud of all the businesses. We were able to have judges from across the state. We had the regional director of SBA, Wayne Bell, was one of our judges, as well as Darren Solden was one of our judges, and we had a really great panel of judges. K-State, their Dean of Diversity, was also one of our judges. So we're just really out here building partnerships and relationships to continue to build sustainability in our organization. As many of you know, we have our Black Business Directory. That's really how the organization started, was through a directory to help people be intentional about knowing where our businesses are and how they can support. Since launching the directory, there's been over 500,000, soon, one day, 50,000 visits per year that we are seeing on our business directory. It's been shared by K-State Athletics during Juneteenth, and it is used as also a recruitment and retention tool. K-State Black Faculty and Staff Alliance does also distribute our directory, and after starting this directory, we saw that our businesses do need to be promoted, but they also need support. And so we're 3 years in, and being able to develop our programming to help these over 100 Black entrepreneurs that are listed in our local Black Business Directory. As I mentioned, we're having an impact across the state of Kansas. We're happy to announce that Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills was chosen as one of the entrepreneurial support organizations across the state that is now in the Kauffman Foundation's ESO Leadership Lab. It is an inaugural lab where we are working with other entrepreneurial support organizations across the state. We are the only entrepreneurial support organization this far west. All of the organizations are based in Kansas City, and then they've included us in the Flint Hills. So we are proud to represent the Flint Hills in this amazing cohort where we're learning different ways to fund our organizations and how to better support our entrepreneurs. And we're bringing that knowledge back to the Flint Hills area to continue to grow with our partners. Also, the organization has been featured by the Kansas Department of Commerce last month in celebrating minority business success in the state of Kansas. So that's always great to be highlighted by the Department of Commerce, as well as our work was highlighted by the National League of Cities. This opportunity was actually brought to us by K-State Innovation Partners, and we're so excited that we're almost done with the cohort. We've learned a lot. We're a part of a cohort that also includes other cities across the nation, including Pearland, Texas, Richmond, Virginia, Oklahoma City, Trenton, Trenton, New Jersey. I can keep going. There's 8 of us, and we're here in Kansas, representing Kansas. And we are having our partner and leader of our cohort, Collab Capital, which is a venture fund created for Black founders based in Atlanta, Georgia. They just received $55 million in their VC capital fund, and they're going to be coming to Black and Bankable and leading our funding panel discussion. So we're really excited. If you have a chance to check out National League of Cities, that article mentions all of our partners, and it's a really good spotlight on our organization. Finally, just hearing from some of our members and the impact that the organization has been able to make. 2 of these members here are both Manhattan, one of them Manhattan-bred, members of our organization, Tyshell Ransom. As you can see here, she said that being a member of Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills has afforded her with the opportunity to be present, comfortable, and find joy in being a Black entrepreneur in my hometown of Manhattan. Feeling of unity, support, and genuineness is unmatched. So you can see there, also Mr. Clay Taylor is one of our senior members. He's been doing business here in the Flint Hills for more than 33 years, moving here from the Mississippi area. And he is also talking about how the organization has helped him feel that he's not on an island anymore, and that he has support, and he's also one of our mentors in the organization. I'll continue going, try to get through these last couple slides really quickly here. Some of you were in attendance at our Circle of Community inaugural gala. We were packed wall to wall at that event. We're excited to bring it back again next February. Through this program, we were able to give micro grants to our members. They were able to purchase things that they really needed to help them to grow their business, such as a business that was operating solely on his cell phone. He was able to purchase a laptop so that he could then continue to grow his business. And the crazy thing is he's been in business for more than 5 years now, and finally through this grant was able to purchase a laptop. So just basic needs like that, the Circle of Community has been able to help our entrepreneurs cover some of those. We're introducing new membership levels into the organization. We found that the community is really rallying around the work that we're doing. So not only will we have business members, we will have student members. We formed a partnership with the K-State Black Student Union. The Black Student Union incoming president is our intern for the summer, and he's built some programming around working together with our students at K-State as well as the College of Business. Of course, the community level membership as well as corporate level membership to help us continue to sustain the organization. And finally, we can't do this work without our sponsors and partners. And as you can see here, this is a list of the many different organizations that Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills has been able to partner with, share resources, and also they are sponsors of the organization to help us continue to do this work in our region. So, thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. As y'all can tell, we have truly a very professional and very passionate team of folks involved in our economic development efforts, and economic development is a team game, and we're fortunate to have such great people that are doing this work in the community. So with that, on their behalf, I'm happy to stand for any questions. We'll pause here before we jump into the military part of the presentation, but if there's any questions or comments related to the economic development presentation, be happy to do that.
What is the timeline to crank up the Elevate Fund, to take applications and start that process?
Yep, the goal is the beginning of October for launch. And so, in fact, we've got a working group that's hard at work on that. We're meeting tomorrow. I've had multiple meetings. I've got a lot of great guidance from Network Kansas, forms, loan documents, everything else. So that's being customized, and we'll develop finish up the processes there and get that thing launched.
I can't remember, what is the CDFI loan? What's CDFI stand for?
Community Development Financial Institution.
Okay.
So that's a U.S. Department of Treasury certification. And you can, the big deal in that with entrepreneurial funding is you can go get money from banks, and banks, if they contribute to that, get CRA credits. Okay. And so they can get those credits, they contribute to that, and then that money can be loaned back out to businesses located in low to moderate income areas, to businesses with low to moderate income owners, and/or to businesses that employ a certain percentage of low to moderate income individuals.
Who else? Anybody else got anything? Linda?
I'm always happy to see Manhattan included in the list of supporters because we We are partners all the way. I had a question, last night on the news, I heard that the Department of, I think, Commerce has also awarded a child care accelerator grant to Topeka, and it's $2 million. So how many of them are there? I know you all received one for our accelerator, which is probably different than the one they're doing, but how many of the accelerator grants are there?
Yeah, their concept is definitely a little bit different. They're spreading out those monies across a multitude of different programs. There's $25 million total in that program. 20 million in that program statewide. I think those were, Topeka and Manhattan were two of the larger awards. I couldn't tell you the exact number, but we can check on that.
No, that's all right. I
follow-up.
just was surprised, because I thought we were the only ones that got it. I didn't realize there were, other communities would also be made awards. That's good. Well, anyway, you've been busy, all of you. Thank you very much. I think the work that you're doing is just exactly what we need to have done, and that's just generate enthusiasm to attract businesses, attract people, and I'm so happy that the Black Entrepreneurs of the Flint Hills is surviving and growing.
And thriving.
And growing, yes, good.
Thank you. Appreciate the city's support.
Yeah.
We should have trademarked that Child Care Accelerator by name. No one else can kind of feel it,
They
even if it's
started
something
it.
different. So,
It was a category.
Sheila, have you been able to complete the information you were needed for that grant that you got, getting the information from the banks? Did you ever get the cooperation that you needed? Not quite? Come on back up here. So, I could probably have this conversation after.
You might tell us what the Kauffman Foundation has told you about.
Sure.
Because there were other communities that had the same project and weren't
Sure.
successful.
Thank you. I'll be brief. So ultimately, we were working with, for a little background, with the National League of Cities. The project we were working on was access to capital for Black entrepreneurs, and we appreciate the city signing that commitment for National League of Cities for that work with Collab Capital, the VC venture fund that I mentioned out of Atlanta. They were the one that was creating this report, basically showing what the real issues are when it comes to Black-owned businesses being able to access capital and working with banks. So ultimately, there are lots of stats, but the one that's the most overwhelming is that Black-owned businesses are denied loans twice as often as white-owned businesses. So trying to come up with solutions around that, we were tasked with interviewing and getting surveys from 10 different financial institutions, as well as 10 Black founders. We had no problem getting the 10 founders. On the financial institution side, we had some trouble, but we found that our cohort across the nation was also having issues because of banks having a lot of red tape when it comes to filling out these type of surveys and forms. And so we were able to get our organization, I believe we got one financial institution, but what we were able to gain out of it was relationships with banks, starting to have these conversations around access to capital and what can be done. I'm still hopeful that the survey is still open, so if you know of any financial institutions, it's not too late. We are going to actually go over some of the findings during Black and Bankable. I'll be happy to send those over to you just so you have that for your record. But ultimately, we just found that banks have some red tape that we just caused a challenge when it came to gathering the information that we intended, and other cities were having similar issues as well. But we pushed through to get what we could get.
Okay, right, thanks. All right, what else we got tonight?
Let me just say that the Kauffman Foundation is the impetus for that, and they funded the original project, and so the other 8 communities, is that what you said, around this country participated, and there were different projects. This was just one. This is the one that really caught the attention of our Black entrepreneurs in the Flint Hills and this community, and but there were other topics that could have been picked, but this was particularly meaningful because of the difficulty getting startup funding.
They're inviting us back for next year's cohort, so I'll probably be in touch about looking into that for the city.
All right.
Would you probably need to get in touch with the city manager? Yeah, good. I won't be here. I'm a fan.
Anything else, guys, before we move on? Okay, Darren?
All right, thank you. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce Christian Bishop, who is our Military Relations Manager and a new member of our team, but it's a pleasure working with her. And she's going to update you on our military activities. Christian.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, Ron. I'd just like to thank you guys for the opportunity to represent Manhattan as your military liaison. So I'll kind of just start out by going over the economic summary for 2022. I like to call this the why. Why is what we do. So Fort Riley, as you see in the white, brought in about, in the region, $1.8 billion to the Flint Hills region. Another note that I didn't highlight is healthcare. So $85 million worth of healthcare is going to the region, which is, a significant amount. Population, so I'll do the math for you. So 62,000 is the footprint of Fort Riley. A third of that is the footprint of Manhattan. So military members that are living in the community, their families, veterans, and retirees. One thing that is different from this economic impact survey compared to the rest was in the past, retirees and veterans have always been lumped together. And then for fiscal year 22, they separated the veterans out from the retirees. So if you go back and look at historic economic impact, you will see that there is a significant decrease in veterans, but that is just because they were separated into their columns. The other thing to note is that Army recruiting is about 30 is down. It's about 80% manned right now. 30% of the youth are able to actually serve into the service. So as Fort Riley and the Army and the military in general figure out their recruiting, us as Manhattan will work together with our teams to ensure that we are still providing the quality of life and still, bringing up that numbers. So one thing to note is even though, there was an increase in 0.8% of economic revenue with a decrease in 1% population. This is kind of my favorite. So my very first week as the MRC, I got to host the Manhattan Military Relation. So this just highlights the last three luncheons that we had. The average attendance is anywhere between 90 to 100. With our last MRC lunch that we hosted in conjunction with Junction City, which brought in about 160 community members to Fort Riley to hear Sergeant Major Mullinex talk about their year campaign of the Year of the NCO. And as all of we know, the NCO is the backbone of Fort Riley. So I just want to start off by top. So April was a great one. We partnered and had K-State ROTC come and talk about their initiatives. And then the garrison commander actually provided the economic impact survey and brief to the community. So that's why I kind of zoomed over, just because you guys were all there and heard from the horse's mouth. And then our last one, like I said, was great. So I thank you guys all for bearing with all of the changes of Fort Riley with the dates going from a lunch to a breakfast. But like I said, we were able to host 160 people. And then they were able to go enjoy the museum on Fort Riley being opened. Upcoming speakers that we do have lined out for the rest of the year. Next week, we will host the new brigade commanders of 1st Brigade, Division Artillery, which is DeVarty, and the Combat Aviation. In September, we will get an update for the 9/11 memorial that they actually have at the White House. And then AUSA, which is part of our annual retreat. Rich Jankovich, the president, will kind of give an update as far as what some of our initiatives are. October, we have healthcare planned. So we'll be reaching out to IAC and partners in the medical community. And then in November, we have tentatively, he's actually climbing Mount Everest right now, but Lonnie Bedwell is a blind veteran, and he is a motivational speaker. And so, he talks about his challenges being a blind veteran, but also a single father, and it's a great story. And then last December, we will have our annual garrison update provided by the garrison commander, Colonel Foote, and he will actually have John Lawrence, who is the Department of Human Resources. I apologize, I'm used to acronyms. John Lawrence, and he will be talking about the Transition Assistance Program and CSP, and so some of their initiatives that Fort Riley has taken to help service members transition out of the military. So I cannot be, so we can talk about the role of OneID in Eastern Europe. I know that's always a question. So since your guys' last meeting, Fort Riley has welcomed home the 97th Military Police, the Division Artillery, OneID headquarters, and currently 2nd Brigade is redeploying, so you guys will get informations pop up as ceremonies start to happen and they reintegrate back to the Fort Riley footprint. Impact Aid was designed to assist local school districts that have lost property tax revenue due to the presence of taxes at federal property. And so my predecessor, along with the Governor's Military Council, worked with Minnie and Topeka to explain the importance. As you guys know, the federal impact aid, we would do the surveys, and then the dollar amounts would actually go to the state, and the state would evenly disperse them. The state has now divided it out. So as USD 383 fills out their economic impact survey, that money goes back into the to Manhattan Income. So currently there's about 600 students. So the revenue for the federal impact is about $115,000. I didn't put it up there, but I just want to say thank you again for all of your guys' hard work, partnership. As you guys know, DSIP, we did not submit this year, but our DSIP award was part of the airport renovation. And so that is just going to be a great asset bringing and keeping the troops home in Fort Riley. So thank you guys all again for your support in bringing that. We do plan to work with our city, county, and military partners to identify, future projects to submit for DSIP 2024. We are finalizing our Made for Manhattan. So you saw a little bit of the video, but one of the great things that Amber and my predecessor had started working on before I got here was a Fort Riley tab. And also some testimonials of service members and families who have called Manhattan their home. So we keep working on that. And then Sarah talked about the Veterans Entrepreneur. That must be a popular picture, but I had the chance, I've attended 2 of them, and it is just a great way for veterans to just, take the initiative, start their own business, live out their dreams, but also have that network and community. And I'd like to just highlight, so Orange Forge is actually the picture that both of us chose. And I just want to highlight this gentleman. So he's a military veteran that decided to stay in the community, who actually started wood carving as an alternate way to cope with some of his PTSD. And so now that he owns a business, he has been a great resource to Fort Riley in providing that service back to service members, to family members, to actually help them cope. So, it's just a great alternative way for veterans to cope with some of their PTS. And then, of course, I've mentioned Amber, but she has just been a great asset to work next to, doing hiring fairs. And then last week we did Boots on Business, which is career that has set up a class for veterans who want to start their business that gives them the tools and the supports to start it, and then they can transition out. So we were able to brief Made for Manhattan to them. You know, the class was 15, but you know, our hope is always to get all 15 to stay in Manhattan. So as the Army looks for recruitment and retention, you know, I will continue to work with our team to ensure that we are engaging with the Transition Assistance Program, the ACS Employment Readiness Program, the Career Skills Program, and the USO Pathfinders programs. And then last. So as you guys know, I came from events, so of course events and programming is my favorite thing. So the Little Apple Brigade is just a way for members of the community to actually have that one-on-one direction with Fort Riley leaderships to provide collaboration, networking, and fellowship. So I hosted my first Little Apple Brigade social. It was held downtown at Points at a great venue of Strecker Nelson. We had the one ID, the general was on vacation, but we did have the rest of the Victory 5 back, so it was great to welcome them home. So thank you guys again for attending. Our next ball will be Saturday, November 4th, with the location to be determined. On Thursday is the Military Family Night at the Caw Valley Rodeo. You guys are already prepared for the heat, so hope to see you guys there. 5:30 we will kick off dinner provided by Chick-fil-A, and the One ID band will play, and then colors will be presented by One ID, and they will sing the national anthem. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors for providing all of their support. Without them, we could not do what we do, the dinner, and they were also we were able to provide families 1,500 tickets. So if you have not gotten your military tickets for Thursday, you can always check out the Military Relations Community Facebook page, or you can stop by the chamber or call our office to get your tickets. And I wanted to add something. So we have these great fans. So if your AC still does not work for the rest of the week, let me know and I will bring you guys some fans to cool you guys down. So I was going to wave myself, but then I was like, I'm not going to rub it in. So Fort Riley Day at K-State is November 11th, where we will be hosting the Baylor Bears. So again, great partnerships with the community to provide tickets for soldiers and families. So we look forward to that. And then AUSA annual meeting, which is October 8th to 11th, which will be in Washington, D.C. And it's an annual meeting that provides the voice for the Army, supports the soldiers, and it's a great way to listen to the Army's initiatives of how they can support quality of life. And then, of course, the Veterans Day Parade would not be possible without the help from the city. And pending any questions, I apologize for burning through those slides.
All right, Christian, I don't think so. Thank you for now. Who does that leave?
Thanks, Christian. Yep, next up is Marcia Roselle, Director of our Convention Visitors Bureau, and I will get her slides up. There you go.
Good evening, Mayor, City Commissioners. I'm standing here with Kevin
Okay,
Roberts.
time out. You take that microphone.
Okay.
Take that one, Kevin.
All right.
All right, very good.
I'm going to let.
I won't be here very long.
Okay.
So, good evening, Commissioners. So I'm Kevin Roberts. I serve as interim chair of the Hospitality Management Program at K-State. And speaking about events, what a great segue into Visit Manhattan. So I serve as chair of the 2023 Steering Committee for our CVB, which, if you might remember, that is in accordance with the contract with the city, that they have a steering committee that provides information and advice to Marcia in her position in the CVB. We have 11 members and 5 ex officio members that meet bi-monthly, so every 2 months, to give them advice. And we thank those committee members. They're a great group of people and have a lot of advice and thoughts for the city of Manhattan. So without further ado, I'll introduce Marcia Roselle and turn it over to her.
Thank you, Kevin. I do appreciate Kevin and his role that he serves as our chair of our steering committee, and especially the unique role that he has as the interim director at the Kansas Hospitality Program. It's a great town-gown relationship that's very uniquely Manhattan. So it's wonderful to be in front of you as the director of Visit Manhattan. I think it's always good to be reminded of what our mission is, which is to expand the local economy by attracting visitors. You are well familiar with the Smith Travel Research that provides us with the best destination analysis. It is great because all of our hotel properties report this data, meaning that everything that truly happens in Manhattan, every head and every bed, is posted on this slide. You can see that our monthly occupancy is right there where we were in 2019. This is good news as the hospitality industry is still rebounding from the previous 3 years. Year-to-date occupancy shows that we are ahead of where we were in 2019. This is even better news. Being ahead with our year-to-date occupancy plus growth in the ADR, the average daily rate, our revenues have increased. We are at $17.4 million of revenue collected to date, which is $3.2 million over 2019, which was our best previous year. Internally, our Visit Manhattan team, which still consists of only 2 of us, myself and Jen Alley, who's back here as our convention sales manager, we are gaining on our booked events, our room nights, and our estimated economic impact compared with the previous full years. I'm confident that in the second half of this year, we will make up even more ground. Regarding conferences held in the second quarter, we worked with 41 groups to enhance their meeting experience in Manhattan. Our office provides full service to planners as they initiate, compare, and choose their meeting location, and continue that service as they arrive, welcome their attendees, and host a great meeting. Compared with other destination management organizations across the state, Visit Manhattan has a stellar reputation of being one of the best in terms of services we provide to planners. Second quarter meetings booked, Jen worked with 39 planners that will be holding meetings sometime in the future. We are seeing trends of future planning again, 1 to 2 years out, versus meetings that are just in a few months. Future planning is always good as it allows our hospitality partners to know what to prepare for, and everything runs smoother with that prior knowledge. One big win this quarter was booking the Kansas Livestock Association's annual conference for November of 2024. This was a team effort by both our office and the Hilton Garden Inn sales staff. There are many reasons that KLA was interested in considering Manhattan. The Department of Ag is here, Kansas State University, and our vibrant city will draw high attendance for this conference, which is a win-win for us and KLA. Citywide conferences such as this one take coordinated effort, and I'm appreciative of the great working dynamics that we have with our hospitality partners here in Manhattan. I just wanted to show you a sample of some of the conferences that we hosted in the second quarter. The first one on the far left is the Kansas Association of Court Services. They had their spring conference. Just kind of wanted to note all those name tags that are ready for their 200 plus attendees to arrive. The Kansas PEO in the center held their first of 3 years of their state convention here at the Manhattan Conference Center. And the 95th FFA convention was held in June with hundreds of FFA students converging on the Little Apple. This is our reporting of the second quarter sports events held. And while they are a bit down in number, I can honestly say that it's probably due to my shift of focus halfway through the quarter. Most likely I missed reporting some of our sporting events. And the same could be said for booking future events. So while I wanted to report on this, it's not a good indicator of what's to come. But stay tuned, I have good news at the end of this presentation. In the second quarter, we did host 3A state baseball and softball, Bringing high school athletes and their families, and in some cases the entire community, to town is a good thing for both the city and Kansas State University. We hosted baseball at Toyton Stadium, and softball was out at Twin Oaks and Annenberg. I appreciate the partnership with Manhattan Parks and Rec to host state softball. We are looking at ways to host more KSHA championships in the future with discussions about football and volleyball specifically. Another great sporting event in the second quarter was the 9th annual Bill Snyder Highway Half Marathon. This is a great photo of Marvin Heckmeister and Coach Snyder. Marvin is 92 years young and runs still almost every day. The female half champion was Mandy Zimmerman, and the 9-time male champion was Joe Moore. There was 1,550 registered for the two races, the half and the 5K. 24% of them indicated they stayed in a hotel room. So this is 372 heads in beds. Two new events that happened in the second quarter was the Little Apple Splash Dock Dogs. Isn't that a great photo with the Discovery Center in the background? 61 human handlers and their four-legged competitors were at Blue Earth Plaza for 3 days. It was an impressive show of athleticism. If you didn't see this, mark your calendar for June 14th to 16th, 2024, as they will return. There is a hope that we can get TV coverage in the near future, which would be great exposure for Manhattan. The Model T Ford Club of America, 84 cars traveled in from all over the U.S., spending a full week here with us in Manhattan. They motored out and about in the region to experience the beautiful Flint Hills and the history we have all around us. And I know there was a lot of social media posts about them being in town. Everybody was spotting them as they came and went from Manhattan. In early June, I attended the Midwest Travel Writers Conference in Kansas City, Kansas. This was a great opportunity to work with the State Tourism Office to meet over 30 travel writers who we will potentially host to write stories about our wonderful community. These travel writers bring a fresh perspective with their own following of hundreds to thousands of people. We've already hosted one in July. Partnering with MEDAL. MEDAL stands for Manhattan, Emporia, Topeka, and Lawrence. We launched the Prairie Pour Tour. Utilizing an app, people are encouraged to visit one of 14 beverage businesses on this tour. Manhattan boasts 3 stops with the Tallgrass Tap House, the Manhattan Brewing Company, and Liquid Art Winery. Checking in on the app provides points to the participants that can be redeemed for cool prizes, such as a poster or a t-shirt, or entered in the sweepstakes of a weekend in one of the 4 communities. It's a great partnership with these communities to encourage travel throughout the region. Currently, we have 427 participants from numerous cities and states around Kansas. This tour will run through December 31st, with plans to continue next year. Created and funded by the Kansas Department of Education, Sunflower Summer is in full swing. Another app to encourage travel, participants with school-aged children gain access into participating attractions. Here in Manhattan, our Flint Hills Discovery Center, Sunset Zoo, Tuttle Creek State Park, and Midwest Dream Car Collection all have increased attendance through this program, which runs through the start of the school year in August. Our office is advocating for continuation of this program in 2024. Treat 'em Right is our online hospitality program that we launched in October. Since that time, we've had 220 courses completed. We've awarded random quarterly winners with $50 Little Apple dollars and our monthly winner with entrance tickets into our attractions. Of note is the 49 participating local businesses which have used, like the Holiday Inn at the campus and ESB Financial, have utilized the Treat 'em Right program for onboarding their frontline employees. It's a great tool that helps us all welcome and extend great customer service to our visitors. So, looking ahead, I'm happy to announce that I've hired a new sports sales manager, Lauren Chard. Lauren is finishing up her time at the K-State Alumni Center and will be starting with us this next month. I'm excited to have her join our team. I know she'll hit the ground running and make an impact on bringing more sporting events to Manhattan. So with this hire, this allows me to move on to completing our team with finding the right service coordinator. This is a vital role. It's one that Jen and I have been carrying, probably more Jen than I, where we, focus on providing those planners that are in town with exactly what they need to ensure a great meeting or sporting event. Providing great service while the group is here equals return business and great word of mouth from advertising within our planners. My hope is to have that filled by the start of the holiday season in the fourth quarter. Next on the list is to conduct a competitive sports assessment. This is one of the top initiatives on our recent strategic plan. We will determine the best sporting events for the area, matching the facilities we now have with our hotel availability and investigating sport planners' perceptions of Manhattan. Performing an analysis on Manhattan's performance venue and public facilities, again, a top initiative of our strategic plan. The inventory of these venues and how they match with the seasonality of hotel availability will provide opportunities that we can capitalize on. And finally, prospecting even more conferences and sporting events to bring to Manhattan. It's always our top priority as the destination management organization. Tonight, we come before you with our budget request with the anticipation of a 2.3 million in transient guest tax funds. We are requesting a little over 1.3 million, which will be 60% of that transient guest tax collected. With this fund, we will work hard to rebuild, promote, and attract more visitors to Manhattan. Thank you for your time and attention tonight. If there's any questions I can answer, I'm happy to do that.
No video?
No video, sorry. Make a note.
There really has been a change of passing of the baton. Okay. Anything, John, you look like you want to say something?
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Do you know of any comparisons between us and other places and how are we doing? Are we following the same trends or going against some or another? Or how
Sure, in regard to occupancy or?
Occupancy, events, things like
Sure.
that.
When we get the Smith Travel Research Report, it actually does give our comp set, which is our neighboring communities, and we are doing well. We're above the Kansas average for occupancy here in Manhattan, so that's a positive. As far as the number of events, that would be really hard for me to track and know. I know that as a convention destination, we're certainly high in the state as far as when planners are planning, they know that they come to Manhattan, their attendance will be higher, which is good for their conference. And it's because of the vibrancy here of the community. It's because of Kansas State University. It's because of all the great partnerships that make that a great destination where conferences come. So I don't have any hard numbers for you, but yeah.
So do you consider the COVID hangover over, or?
It looks like with those occupancy that we're climbing out of it. Yes, very much so. Certainly, there's staffing issues still with some of our hospitality, which is why we want to give heads up to our hospitality partners when we've got big citywide conferences in town so that they can staff accordingly. But
Do you ever get quizzes from people about how are you guys doing with staffing? Like, you really going to be able to take care of us, and questions like?
We do get those questions, and we certainly, again, try to get the word out to, like, for example, when a big conference is down at the Manhattan Conference Center, letting downtown know, especially if they have a release for lunch. It's just kind of one of those things that you'll see a wave of people because of the walkability here in Manhattan that they head downtown. So we get feedback. We try to address that feedback. We try to prepare for it. We try to plan for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I can only, I've talked with Karen about it in the past, and I feel certain, but I want to be sure you're counting the conferences that K-State planners also coordinate.
We do. We do. We work with them hand in hand.
I'm sure the motel numbers are there, but I want to, just, because I think that's the best reflection of our whole community.
It is. It is an important piece of it. It is an important piece. We certainly know that it drives the numbers of conferences that come to town.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we do work with the K-State as much as we can get in front of them and much as we can offer our services to be a part of that. It's certainly a transition for them as well, correct, right? As things have changed on campus. And so getting in front of who we need to get in front of is always a challenge.
Well, or at least getting them in time for your reporting, to get them to report how many conferences they have coordinated that even though you didn't have a part in it, they would have, be reporting. The other thing is, as you report the number of overnight stays, and I prefer to that rather than heads in beds, just generally as a category. I'm interested in capturing the numbers for the short-term rentals also.
Okay.
And I know you can't count them because you don't know about them. We can't count them because we don't know about them, and they're not being tracked anywhere that I can think of. But I know there are more people staying in this community than just at the hotels and the bed and breakfasts, I think. I'm not sure. Do we even have one still, probably?
We have a couple that have single rooms.
Yeah, and so that's small, really small. But the short-term rentals, I mean, we have an apartment complex that wants to go totally short-term rental. And there's no real accountability is what I'm saying. So I think we are remiss in not pursuing that in some firm ways so that we can not just count them, but, there's business to be made there too. So far, the owner of the property is the only one, but the community has no way of tracking it. Thanks. And welcome. We're glad you're, congratulations.
Thank you.
That was a good presentation. Thank you.
All right, I think you're off the hook for now.
Okay.
Darren, who
I'll
else you
bring a
got?
video next time.
Oh, that'd be great. We've kind of gotten used to that.
Even if it's the old one.
Is that the last of them? All right, any other questions for anybody? Otherwise, Bill, you have any public comment you'd like to make?
Very beneficial 90 minutes.
There you go. All right, well, I will close public comment since no one's here to do that, and we will call the work session a wrap, I guess, and thanks for all your presentation. We will stay around here because we've got fans blowing on us. You guys are free to go, and we will move on to the city manager briefing.
You should have planned to take your jackets off. That's punishment, torture. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I'll try to get through this as quick as I can. Don't have a whole lot. Obviously, the big announcement, I think you didn't. We provided a news release this afternoon at the close of business, so you may not have saw it, but we are planning to close the building tomorrow. Where we found a part in the Kansas City area. They went and got it. The contractor is going to start on that tomorrow, but City Hall will be closed. Everybody will be working remotely. It's a busy time for us in customer service for just people changing, students coming in, water service. So they will be here staffing the phones, and we'll have signs on the doors to call different numbers at the city and do online. So hopefully we'll get everything running again and be back to normal. So this just affects City Hall. They'll be working remotely tomorrow. Second item, passed in a previous mail folder, I provided a memo from Wyatt on our energy efficiency, what do you call it? Conservation block grant. And so some of you this is one of those things that comes around periodically. About 15 years ago, we got one that converted all the LED signals, or all the signal heads in town to LED lights. This particular one is about $117,000. It's got a number of different areas, but the feds have, you can do your formal grant agreement program, which has lots of strings attached to it and a lot of compliance by America and all kinds of different things. or they'll give you a voucher, which will reimburse you for something that meets one of their goals. And so we provided a memo to you about that. Our plan is it's due the 31st, so Monday. Our plan is to purchase robotic mowers with that $117,000. It's actually going to give us a nice fleet that we can do some significant progress with in a lot of our parks and other facilities. And so I just wanted, if you had a chance to see that, give us some feedback on it. Again, what's due is our interest. So by putting our interest form in, and you have to state the use, we reserve. Actually, they don't have the actual application form done yet. They're anticipating launch of that in September. Exactly. So anyway, that's kind of our plan. I wanted to cover it here. If you have any suggestions or comments about it, please contact us and let us know. But we think it's a good fit for different things that focuses on, helps us out labor-wise, and will certainly be much more energy efficient because of it.
The little Blueville little buddy, it looks like it takes about a 24-inch cut. Do they make that those big enough to actually knock out acres at a time at all? Or is you stuck with a 24-inch one and just let it go longer?
No, there are larger size available now. Blueville's had that one out at the roundabout at Scenic and Anderson for quite a few years, and they've made a lot of advancements in that technology to make them more efficient, larger sizes, abilities to cut acres upon acres. So we'll have all that detail as we put together the proposal, the actual voucher proposal, and can share that with you.
Good. All right.
Okay.
We're all curious. We'd like to know more when the time comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask you if you all got an invite from Riley County, either commissioners or staff, to attend a task force meeting on Seco Park Fairgrounds next for August 16th at 7 a.m. Did you even get that correct?
August 16th?
Okay.
No.
We were concerned if you did, because we'd have to notice it if a majority of you are going. I don't know that you will get one.
I would remember.
I know staff
I'd
has
remember
been invited.
7 a.m. I'd remember.
They did indicate they were just going to invite the city, so we didn't know if that was going to be
You didn't know
extended
who at the
or not.
city. So the city.
We have city staff.
City
that are planning to
administration is
attend.
going to attend.
Yes.
Is that true? Okay.
Right.
All right.
So I'm curious about that, Ron. They don't seem to be tied in with that KSU Foundation at all. And their plans to build that big barn up there behind the fire station. And, this just seems strange to me that they're talking about a $100 million project. Why aren't they partnering with KSU Foundation?
So my understanding is that K-State is open for the rodeo and some of the use for livestock and that sort of thing. They do not want the liability for the fair being located on university property. That's been the kicker. Just how much availability it's going to have from K-State wants to program that arena considerably. So I think that might be a little part of it as well. But this task force is looking at different options, whether they rebuild at Seco or find another location, and it's focused a lot more on just the 4-H and ag extension, who utilizes the bulk of those facilities, and as opposed to, and the rodeo's a component of it, but it's kind of a separate component. And so whether they want to build their own arena, it kind of ties in with some of the things that was part of the study that the CVB did about, having a facility that can host multiple type events. The other thing that my understanding is K-State really doesn't want to have they want an agricultural arena, so they're not really interested in some of the other alternative uses when that comes to mind, like four-wheelers and monster trucks and those kind of things. So, if others were to partner on that, maybe that would become more open, but my understanding is, based on the donors they've been able to identify, is it really fits with their goals for their various agronomy and animal science colleges and where they want to go with that.
Maybe they just need to move the rodeo up there, keep the fair out there, do it on different weekends. A lot of places, they don't, it's a little unusual to have the rodeo at the same time as a county fair. Maybe that, yeah. I don't know,
just
we'll
think
see.
we-
It's
you know,
just,
we talk a good show about partnerships, but it seems like we miss out all the time on
Yeah.
the big money items. That's
Yeah.
what they call them.
I think we talk about it.
there you go.
Tonight, in your mail folders, is a note we got from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They're going around to northeast Kansas primarily to talk about updating some of their planning efforts. And it's my understanding it's really looking at releases and really focused on more drought management and releases. So they're kind of updating all of their policies, and they're getting input. Anyway, they're going to be in town next week at the headquarters fire station Thursday, August 3rd from 5 to 7. So open to the public. They've asked us to try and get this information out, especially to elected officials and others. So more information is in your mail folder tonight.
Okay.
Other meetings coming up, we've got, the League of Kansas Municipalities are having a virtual regional meeting for the strategic planning. That's actually Monday between 6:30 and 7:30. You should have all received several emails from them about that opportunity to give some feedback into the league's strategic plan. They do ask you to register for that, so look for those emails, and if you can't find it, let us know, and we'll be happy to forward it to you. Christian mentioned the MRC luncheon on the 2nd. We've got just some dates. Joint City County will be at the county on the 17th of August. Intergovernmental on the 28th. Of course, we just had one. Invitations. I know the zoo's invited folks to the 90th birthday celebration on August 5th from 6:30 to 8:30. It's a social event, so even if you all are invited, we wouldn't typically notice that, but we would ask you to not congregate if you attend with the majority. So
Great event to attend, though.
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Stormont Vale Health Center ribbon cutting ceremony. Should have all got invites to that. It's Friday, August 18th at 10, and tours involved in that. So I think Chelsea just did send that out today or yesterday.
And I had to decline. I'll be out of town.
Okay.
Just to,
And then another item coming up early fall is the September 11th Day of Remembrance. Flint Hills the volunteer program, and that's September 10th on Sunday in City Park at the Weefall Pavilion. It starts at 3 with events, a picnic at 5, and the ceremony at 5:30. So you should have got to save the date on that earlier, and
Yeah,
I'm sure there'll
we
be
did.
more
we didn't have the
more
detail.
information
Okay.
coming out on that.
Get your police hot dogs.
Commissioner on the radio, Commissioner Butler, I think we got you down for the month of August, so, all right. And then I think September's probably John, and then October would be Linda, right? And
that would be safe with an election.
yeah. All right, very good. Just a couple items on the planning chart. The first meeting in August, two items anticipated on the general agenda. One is a municipal facility review for the high school parking lot. This is basically as they've expanded and redone a lot of the area, that the school district purchased homes and have since removed them. So the parking lot on the south side that is on the north side of Oak Street is planned to be expanded all the way to the park. And so they've been working with us on, extending some sidewalk from them, and they've been great about allowing us to use it during big events at the zoo. Likewise, we've allowed them to use some of the parking at the zoo, even for student parking. So this is a municipal facility process, and I think a good partnership for them to consider on basically not having to put all of the required landscaping in, similar to what they've had at the other schools, is really the aspect.
Well, collaborating means we don't have to have as much parking, and we can scale the landscaping some.
The other item is all those several different actions related to the business around the car wash out at Stag Hill at the entrance to the golf course. They're converting that building and constructing, I believe, another one in the future for gymnastics and other types of exercise components. So they're wanting full services from the city for that.
So they're not constructing another car wash, they're gonna be
No, no.
constructing like a Quonset hut thing, or whatever you call that.
They have, they're
I don't know what
they're
you call
converting
the
that
building.
use for exercise
Yeah.
and
Okay.
mostly youth
But
programs.
it'll be a commercial in,
And they need a new agreement for that, plus
Okay.
they eventually want to plan another building
Okay.
in that particular area. We've taken them, and we'll go through this at the presentation, but we have our staff developed a inventory form about
Yeah.
whether or not it recommends annexing,
Uh-huh.
and has a number of different criteria, and at this point,
Uh-huh.
it's in the past, sometimes if you're getting both, because they have water already, so if you get water and sewer, sometimes we've required annexation in the past. In this case, since it's in an island situation and there's not significant development around it, there's a whole checklist, but staff does not recommend annexing at this time, but they would have the formal agreement that would allow us to do that whenever we chose to do so.
now, don't we provide water to the golf course?
We do.
We do,
Yeah, that's-
so it's close.
Well, just the
proxim-
building. That's
Close
not
proximity.
For irrigation.
We're
We are providing, we already have an
Yeah.
agreement on water.
Yeah, okay.
With the car wash. So the
Okay.
property owner that's there we have a relationship with already. We're just expanding that.
Okay.
And there also will be infrastructure to build, similar to what we just did with the golf course. They would hire a contractor to do the work.
Okay.
They have a benefit district petition for you. All of those items that are listed there were our action items for just that one item.
My observation is that between the highway and the golf course, where this is, the railroad is there, and so there's no, issue. This is developable land as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as we're
No,
concerned.
they're
Yeah.
north of the railroad.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. I didn't know if some of that was.
And have access to the
Some
old
of that was
Stag Hill
KDOT
Road.
reserved land or anything, so the answer is no. Okay,
All right.
thanks.
Yep, more to come.
Consent agenda? anything?
Consent-wise, we've got a bid award. We had a bidder on Manhattan Avenue and the Campus Creek, and basically, this is a carryover city university fund projects that gets rid of the amber lights, the pedestrian crossings, and puts signals there, traffic signals at those intersections. K-State is doing a project that's going to connect, help me out with the streets.
So we're realigning the intersection of Campus Creek Road and Bertrand, and that'll be a fully signalized intersection. And then they will be closing off roadway access to Petticoat and removing that push and walk signal. When you're turning west into campus, there will be a roundabout that'll actually go over the Campus Creek stormwater box, reinforced concrete box that's there. And that roundabout will give you access to Petticoat as well as Campus Creek Road.
So more to come on that, but all those on-campus improvements are theirs. They're paying 100%, but we're cooperating with one bid item. So the email that the signals and the cycle track deal with previous pledged city university funds that were accumulated before we did the transfer to the North Campus corridor. So that total won't quite cover it all, and we have some recommendations for additional funding. couple of got an RFQ for the next round of wastewater treatment plants for biosolids upgrade and expansion that's in the CIP. We'll have a recommendation for Lee Mill Village for a developer that was responded to our request. Yep. And then selection committee recommendation on the animal shelter. We had a request by Prairie Paws, who said Commissioner Butler was involved in that interview process. And then, yeah, so that's, we have some equipment to renovate some of the slides at the aquatic parks as well. Here's the season ends. Then on the 15th, right now we don't have an identified general agenda item per se, but there could be one materialize. Something may move up or move back. We've got the, maybe we do. I'm not sure why that's on consent. So that Greenbrier Stadium PUD should be down on general. We do have a general agenda. I thought that was where that was coming. That's the one Commissioner Morris just mentioned about the one that's converting to short-term rentals. So
I do have a question. Is that the whole complex, or is that just the first two buildings still on the street, or?
I think it's the whole ownership.
But they're going to be doing it in phases.
The College Avenue and Kimball, northwest corner.
Oh, northwest. The high
Where they're doing the
Garden
renovation
Way,
work.
not Garden Way. What was the name of it?
The old Woodway.
Woodway,
yeah.
some way. Woodway.
Wow.
And we'll have a recommendation or we have a professional services agreement we'll bring you for the Sunset Avenue improvements. We have a selection committee recommendations for the Sunset Zoo African Plains for architectural firm or a team that they've submitted. Commissioner Mata's been involved in that one, as well as a recommendation to negotiate professional services for the Sequel Park improvements. And those interviews are ongoing, and the mayor's involved in those. Are those next week?
They're going to decide on the Thursday,
Okay.
I think.
Oh, yeah. You're short listing. We had, what, 6 applicants?
Narrowed it down to 3.
All right. So
It's going to be tough.
good activity there. And then there were 4 submittals for the master plan. So that's not scheduled yet. Have a ratification of temp notes and a pretty typical utility easement vacation.
Before we leave, up at the top, the fourth item, the MOU for environmental review. Who pays for that?
So what this is an amendment with the Housing Authority.
Agreement, yeah.
Essentially, we've been doing their environmental reviews for them ever since it was kind of one of those things when they were part of the city. We just did. And we've been doing it ever since they left the city. And they have a source of funds that they could pay us to do that. So that's what the MOU is doing.
Okay.
It's
So,
modifying it for us to get paid for our time.
good,
Do that work for them. They're required to do them.
yeah.
We do them all the
Yep.
time for other
No.
city projects, so it's just a way for us to get reimbursed.
Yeah, no, I'm fully supportive. I just didn't understand, too few words here.
Work session items, on the 8th, we'll have the survey results from the community survey presented to you, and then department heads will be making their budget presentations and how those tie into some of their strategic plan updates. We then on the 22nd, it's Public Works Utility Night. We're going to start off with some of the stormwater discussion. We've had some of the design manual work move forward for us to speak to you about, as well as the watershed and tributary study that's been underway. We'll have an update for that. And then the best management practices for the fee in lieu of discussion to avoid detention by doing the fee, which we've brought to you on a case-by-case basis, and so some recommendations for further policy development there. And then more discussion, primary discussion on just the water and wastewater rates and their budget recommendations. And
I will be in Jamaica November 14th, so whatever that item is.
the
I may or
mayor's
may-
gone
I may
on the
be able to
14th.
zoom in, but I don't want to.
Okay. That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay. All right, Linda, you got anything for the good of the order
Just a
here?
couple of questions. Ehlers Road or Street, whatever it is, was supposed to be closed for 2 weeks for boring, whatever that was. And it's still closed. We're into the third week. So is it just they haven't taken the signs down, or is the project not complete, or who's doing it? Telecommunications or?
I don't know for sure on that one.
Ehlers Road, boring, who's in
It's
charge?
still
What's-
closed. It was only going to be closed for 2 weeks.
It's a contractor, isn't it? So, yeah, they're not done, or we'd have it down.
Don't let them slow down. If you're ever going to do a traffic count, it's while Ehlers is closed and Casement. Highway 24 would be on maximum automobile count, yeah.
It should be cooler outside than in City Hall, so we'll probably head out there. Looking around.
That's probably true. So there was a question on Facebook, I think it was, anyway, asking when the airport would reopen. And I said, hopefully September 1, but for sure by the 5th. And somebody said, "Are you sure?" I said, "Well, I'm never sure of anything, but I'll double check tonight." So,
So the crosswind runway should be open sometime next week.
Yeah.
If the paint doesn't peel off the concrete because it's scalded. Because it's too hot to paint. But that's the concrete work is done. They're working on the lighting and the painting to get the crosswind open. Things are going along really well on the main runway, and we anticipate them being done around the end of August as planned, with the September 1 opening. The airline isn't planning to start service, I don't think, till the 6th, though.
I see. That would be what the point is.
Yeah.
And so the commercial airlines will start on the 6th.
Right.
Okay. All right. That's good. Thank you for that.
Yep.
And,
Oh, go ahead, you go.
and I read in the Topeka or Kansas City paper, there were several cities that had measurable PFAS in their water supply, and Manhattan was mentioned. So let me bring you that article if you're not aware of it.
Okay.
So, and it could be, anyway, I don't know how to interpret
Is it time to
water,
panic?
water quality either.
Okay.
So it must not be, anyway. It's really hot weather, and I had a call this afternoon saying, what's the city doing to help the people who, in the winter, extreme cold, we have warming centers where we tell people to go. I know in the past, we've had some cooling centers. I think I recall that the Salvation Army has given out some fans. I'm not sure at 106 and 109 that a fan, but be better than nothing. But is there this community care group, or are you working with anyone about the heat for the next 8 days, that for someone who?
Yeah, so we often rely
Yeah.
on social service agencies that
Yeah.
are providing that, but I will certainly
Yeah.
check with emergency services
Yeah.
at the county
Yeah.
that to see if they're planning anything. We have a number of facilities,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, that are free and open where people can cool down. Can't do it at City Hall tomorrow, but
Yeah.
the rec
Well, that's
centers, the library, all
Well,
of
the lady called the public health department, and they said, well, go to a public building, but that doesn't help with, it's a basic thing like water.
Can't sleep there.
Like water. And there's nothing in the community really for overnight. And so I'm just, it's kind of like the extreme cold.
Yeah.
It's just, and so that'd be great if you'd work with, I don't know who they are, other
Well,
entities.
it wasn't Vineyard Church, didn't they help out with the warming thing out on Casement there? I was thinking
Yes.
they were the
Uh-huh.
the warming
They did.
places for that area.
And they still are. I believe they're accommodating some of the Be Able over overnights, I think with sleeping bags or something in their basement, or at least they were 2 months ago or so when I last heard about it. Because the emergency shelter is always full, the crisis center is always full. You know, we have needs that go beyond the current facilities that we have. But, you know, there's a way to help people. They're just, you know, not out on the riverbank now. They're in town. And if there's a way to help, that's what we should be doing as good people, not just sitting in our air conditioning and talking about it.
All right, John, you got anything? When you thinking
Yeah, a
about?
couple things. I appreciate the work, the staff did answering questions on flag football and belly dancing and, so that I had the right information to pass back, because I know that's a pain, but, I appreciate the feedback there. And I read the parking update. I think that gives us all the data that we need. Any problem with sharing that?
Yeah, no, that's not a problem, and certainly, again, I would just say it's 6 months. So we shouldn't really say, well, here's the trend, because it's not. I mean, this will be our first fall and football season. We're trying to work on some publicity with new students coming back into town, with folks that have been coming for football games, and certainly some things we can do to help that process. And so we're.
Yeah, I just thought it was a good report because, people are saying, hey, we're writing tickets to make money. Well, clearly, there's information there that says no. And then the usage of the garage is much higher than a lot of people are attributing it to. And of course, the other thing is, people still pushing us for free parking. And of course, the numbers there clearly show that we're subsidizing parking in Aggieville at a pretty good rate right now. And maybe that's what it was costing us anyway, before we built the garage, because who knows, we didn't keep track of it, But I know that, the facility's safer, cleaner than it would be without those folks working down there, so I appreciate that. And then I see the mill calculation sheet. Jared, you got that updated with the right mill number? And my question is, are we gonna be able to, we talked about adding some more. Is that gonna be possible in the next few weeks, or?
Yeah, I mentioned it to Rebecca and Rena, and we're working on it from just a spreadsheet perspective. They just talked to me yesterday about it. We haven't talked to Jared just about that 3-year analysis that allows that third year to have some flexibility on whether or not it increases or it decreases and how it impacts that tax bill. When Rebecca and Rena and I talked a little bit, though, too, is just that understanding of when you get your tax bill, when taxes are due. We constantly have confusion in the community when you all take action on a mill levy of when that actually applies to your bill and when that revenue is actually received. There's a lot of perception that the answers that you give in September with a budget are right away part of the bill in October, and that's not true. So there's just education with it as well that we think we could do to help clarify some of those things. But we need to check with Jared and Civics Plus to see what can remain static and what we can make interactive with home values and mill levies.
Okay, well, I'm referring to the financial calculation sheet. I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen it. And
I think at the very least,
I just think some improvements on that, where what we were talking about, drop-down menu, where you could go in there and just put in the proposed mill levy, like the school board managed to raise theirs, and so, we're looking pretty good in comparison to the other two groups, from that standpoint.
yeah, I think, Commissioner, what we were talking about is at the very least, we can replicate the calculators to reflect different years. And if we do any adjustments with the calculator, they created that and coded it, so we'll have to.
But I just think
They
that'd
don't
be helpful.
do anything for free really anymore.
I know.
So, but if if we can copy it and those calculators, I think we can set something up that'll
But I think
fit what you're
that'll help
talking
us
about.
a great deal, and, people going off on tangents on how this works, and that thing seemed to be it conveys the information, by all the taxing, entities. So I think it's worthwhile to invest in that just for the public relations end of it. from that standpoint. So I appreciate the work on that. That's it.
All right, in that case, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I move that we adjourn the July 25th, 2023 City Commission work session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Amata,
Yes.
Commissioner Morse,
Yes.
Mayor Hattasol,
Yes.
Commissioner Butler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, meeting adjourned.